All right, we are here. Yes, just a few minutes late. Welcome to Forward Future Live. Today is Friday, January 30th, 2026. I'm Matt Berman.
And I'm Nick Wentz.
Today, we have some incredible guests on the show. First, Nikita Rudin, CEO and founder of Flexion. We
Yeah.
have Alex Mashrabov, CEO and founder of Higgsfield, and Peter Steinberger, creator of, well, I guess formerly Moltbot, formerly Claudbot, and now OpenClaw. Here to talk about all the cool stuff that's been happening this week. But let's talk a few minutes about what's been going on this week because I've been a little out of it.
Well,
I'm catching up.
I actually wanted to start there. What's going on with you? You've had
Yeah.
a rough one.
Yeah, I was incredibly sick with the flu, and then right on the tail end of that, my I just like completely threw out my back. I sound like an old man, I suppose that makes me one. Throwing out your back is kind of a rite of passage in old manhood. Yeah, so it's been rough. A lot of time in bed, and I'm so happy to be here. I am so happy to be out of my bedroom.
Little change of scenery. So
Yeah.
how did you throw out the back? Was it a, a sneeze related to the flu?
No, obviously I was lifting anvils,
Yeah,
or
yeah,
something else like totally cool like that. No, I I was changing my bed and just like
It's
sitting
even
in
better.
bed for, 2 days straight. I guess it was like, no, you're not ready yet. So that was that. So yeah, today is kind of the first day out. So if you see me adjusting, moving around, that is why.
Well, welcome back to the real world.
Yeah.
Um, we have a great show coming up, and I think we should just jump right into it. We're gonna have a chance to cover stories later on. What do you think?
Let's do it. Yeah, let's bring our first guest on.
All right. So, folks, if you've ever wondered who's going to save those poor humanoid robots from tripping over themselves or enable them to perform heart surgery, our next guest might be that very person. This is Nikita Rudin. He is an ex NVIDIA researcher who recently raised $50 million to build the brain behind humanoid robots. Nikita, welcome to the show.
Hi, really happy to be here. What a great intro.
I do
Welcome
my
to the
best
show,
on these.
Nikita. Super excited to talk to you.
Well, let's just start with where in the world are you? How's it going today? Give us the lowdown.
Everything's going well. It's actually the end of the day because I'm in Zurich in Switzerland in our office. Uh, our employees are having a beer because one of our interns is leaving tonight. I'm going to join them right after that.
I don't
We're
be afraid
standing
to
between
pour
you and the
yourself.
beer. Yeah.
Yeah, don't be afraid to pour yourself one. It's 10 a.m. here, but
A
feel
bit
feel more
early, yeah.
than yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into the meat of this. So, if you could, I'm sure some of the audience is familiar with Flexion. Is that the right pronunciation, by the way, or is it Flexion?
I usually call it flexion.
Flexion, perfect. All right,
Depends on the
tell us about
language.
Flexion. What are you all doing over there?
So, you said it really well. We're teaching humanoids how to do all sorts of things. We're focusing on the intelligence, so we're not building hardware, building a horizontal platform, building the brain that can power all sorts of robots. And I personally use the word humanoid in a broader sense. It doesn't necessarily mean two legs, two arms, and looks like a human. It means a robot that has human-like capabilities. So it should be able to go where humans can go and do the sort of um, manipulation tasks, interact with the environment in the way humans do. So we are of course working on actual humanoids, robots with two legs, two arms, and a head, but also working on platforms on wheels that have two arms on top to manipulate the environment. And
And
we're not
please,
focusing
Nikita,
necessarily
continue.
on sorry, go ahead.
No, no, please continue.
We're not necessarily focusing on one specific task, but we want to build this machinery that allows us to teach new tasks to these robots very, very quickly. We're starting with things related to industry, to logistics, and moving boxes around, manipulating those boxes, but we're not stopping there. We'll be expanding the capabilities of these robots as time goes.
So what is like what are you actually building? What is the thing that is able to power the humanoid robots? Is it a model? Is it a framework? Is it a platform of different types of software that can power it, vision, language? Tell us a little bit more.
No, that's a great question. It's one I get all the time. The most popular thing to say is it's one single neural network end to end that does everything. Um, but actually, that's not exactly what we're building. We're building a platform that is like a whole ecosystem of different neural networks interacting with each other. The easiest way to describe it is to split the whole autonomy of a robot. So we're building the whole autonomy stack from a text prompt. You tell the robot, clean up this office after people finish having beers. And we're building the whole thing all the way down to motor control. But it's, once again, not one single neural network. It's split into a few different steps. We typically talk about three layers, what we call the command layer, which is something close to a VLM. And we're not training it from scratch. This is, we can actually leverage open source VLMs that are available. We just need to fine tune them. That VLM will break down the task into subtasks, such as, oh, I see an empty beer bottle, go grab it. And then we have a VLA. These are these vision language action models. It will receive this specific instruction of grabbing that bottle of beer, and will plan the motion of the robot to actually go put its arm there, close the hand to grab that bottle. And the third layer is what we call the control layer. Will control the motors of the robot to execute that very specific motion.
So this seems to be almost a heated debate in embodied AI right now, where you have the end-to-end camp, just one big neural network, and then you have your side of the debate, which is, I guess you could call more of a modular approach, if that's fair to say.
Right.
Well, what are the benefits to your approach over the end-to-end camp?
It's funny, you use the word modular, and it's exactly the word I usually use. But it seems to be a taboo world and a taboo word in this world. But nevertheless, I'm happy to defend it.
Yeah.
There are a few advantages. One is to train an end-to-end model, we need a lot of data. I mean, everyone knows that it's all a data problem. But if you're training an end-to-end model, you pretty much need data of robots doing things, right? So you need to train the whole thing at once, you need text in and motor commands out. Whereas if you split it, you can train part of the model on a lot of human data and only inject the robot data in the last part where it actually matters. For example, to break down the abstract task of cleaning an office to instructions such as grab a bottle, you don't really need any robot data. It doesn't matter what kind of robot you're controlling. Whereas for the control part, it is very important to know exactly what kind of motors the robot has. And the second point is very closely related, is the fact that we want to power different kinds of robots. And for that, we're building a system in a way that we can reuse, let's say, 80% of the whole system and all of the data across all robots. It's this cross-embodiment idea. Once again, deciding what kind of actions to do doesn't require knowing exactly the characteristics of each actuator. And then you interface that with an additional smaller model that is actually trained specifically for each embodiment separately.
And when you think about who you need to partner with, I assume you need to partner with humanoid robotics companies that aren't necessarily building their own model, or tell me about like how the actual commercialization works.
That's another very good question. So yes, there are two ways to do this. We need to partner with companies building robots, and then either we buy robots and we go talk to the end customers, or warehouses, factories, etc. Or our preferred way is to give those capabilities to hardware manufacturers and let them go to their already existing end customers. And the following question might be about competition. And of course, a lot of these companies are building similar things in-house or planning to do that. So in a way, our competitors are also our clients. We need to convert the competitors to clients. And I mean, I would say we're doing that very successfully so far.
Yeah, can you walk us through how that works? It's an interesting dilemma for sure.
Right. I mean, if you think about it, I'm sure you've seen a ton of humanoid companies. I think pretty much every few days we get a new one. For sure, every day one new one from China, but these days also once per week, one from the US or Europe. And everyone has to recreate the same system. relearn all the exact same lessons, and yeah, in a way, except sorry, I'm thinking out loud here, but everyone is building the same system and just trying to inject a slightly different data in, right, which is specific for their robot, their actual embodiment.
Mhm.
And basically, what our claim is that it doesn't make sense to do that separately in each company without any cross learning across all these systems. It's much more efficient if one platform, well, in this case ours, but also someone else's, it is able to power all these robots at once.
So do you have an Optimus robot there, a Neo robot? You have all of them scattered around the office, constantly testing them and experimenting with them. I'd love to see a picture of this lab setup over there.
Yeah, I can try to find one over. It's a bit late, so the robots are not walking around anymore.
Yeah.
But usually, if you come to our office, you'll see a bunch of different robots doing like walking around, carrying boxes, manipulating things. And we're doing it. We're making our own life harder on purpose by working on different robots from day one, because it requires a lot of infrastructure to be able to power all these robots with the same system. And another very important point is that we're betting a lot on simulation and reinforcement learning. And this is, again, maybe a slightly less popular thing these days. And the alternative approach that we want to avoid is using teleoperation. So you pay a ton of people to wear motion capture suits, VR headsets, stand behind robots, teleoperate them to collect data. Instead, we're trying to do as much as possible in simulation, which actually makes it much easier for us to retrain things for new robots. Let's say we have a simulator that allows us to train one robot to manipulate a box. Once we get a new robot, typically the manufacturer provides us with a file called a URDF. It's a file that represents all the mechanics and physics of the robot. We plug it into our simulator, retrain it, and get a new neural network out that we can just put on that specific robot, and that new robot knows how to do the same task as the other one. And so there we get really this flywheel of every time we train one robot for a new task, we're actually training 100 or however many different embodiments we have.
And when you're testing the robots, how do you think about safety? How do you think about putting the guardrails in place? And then also, are you focused more on the kind of factory humanoid robot or at home personal use?
The two things are clearly related, in my opinion, and we are focusing more on industrial use cases at first,
Mhm.
in big part because of the safety question. Because if you send these robots into homes, you cannot control anything. Everything really has to work, let's say 99 point, however many nines you want to add, zero shot. You cannot send an engineer that will quickly check that things are good to go. Whereas if you send 100 robots to a factory, then it's completely fair to send one of our engineers to check that there are no big roadblocks and that the robots can actually operate the way they do. And after a few days, we can unleash the fleet of 100 robots. Plus, you can train the workers around robots and tell them to not do very specific things, which is not something you can do with the robot at home.
Nikita,
Makes sense.
did you see the announcement that Tesla is going to discontinue the Model X and the Model S in preparation for building out their Optimus fleet? And first, did you see that? What do you think? And then also, like, I want to get your take on timelines. What kind of timelines are we looking at for mass deployment in the commercial setting?
Yeah, I did see that. I think it's great because for us, the more robots are out there, the better.
That's right. You guys benefit,
Um,
right? Because you're just every robot is an opportunity to put your engine in it.
exactly. But
Yeah.
we the caveat is that it doesn't work if it's only Tesla doing it. So we need many other companies doing it as well, right? And I mean, we've seen it before when Tesla starts doing something, then all the other automotive companies react. And I see the same thing happening here. I think everyone is starting to at least think about building these robots. So the announcement itself is great. In terms of timelines, again, the more the faster, the better for us. But I do think it will take a little bit longer before there is a reason to produce that many robots. Because to produce that many robots, it means that each one of them has to create some economic value, right? And the reality is that We're just not there yet. And there are actually a few steps to solve until we get to a useful humanoid robot that creates value. Right now, we've seen some industrial deployments, but typically what happens is that the robot is not good enough to do the exact task that was done by humans before. So basically, for the proof of concept, they need to change the environment slightly to make the task easier, which of course means that, well, once the proof of concept is done, they put the robot back in the box and the humans are back.
Is that, Nikita, is that typically a hardware limitation or a software limitation? Or as in the robots are not quite at human level in the industrial setting, better hardware, better software, or both?
Mostly better software, except hands. So for
Hmm.
tasks requiring really dexterous motions, hardware is not there yet, but it is getting there very quickly. I was at CES a few weeks ago, and there were, I don't know, 25 different Chinese hands, all competing with each other. So the hardware is getting there extremely quickly. Software takes a little bit longer, especially for very complicated whole body coordination tasks. I don't know if you saw Figure's announcement for a few days ago.
Yeah.
But it's probably
Yeah, yeah.
I think it's great. And I've been saying for a very long time, show me whole body coordination. So show me legs and arms moving at the same time. And I think they're one of the first. I mean, 1X showed a few things, but the figure demo is a bit more convincing. So we need way more of that. And these are the things we're working on. All these tasks that require the robot to bend over, grab something heavy from the ground, bring it somewhere else, walk on stairs, open doors, all these sort of whole body coordination tasks. Once
How,
we get that, then the scale of what is possible for these robots increases a lot.
Yeah. So this is a little cliche at this point, but people talk a lot about the ChatGPT moment for humanoid robots. Like, how close do you think we realistically are to something like that? Understandably, locomotion is very difficult to solve, but if you had to put kind of a timeline on it, where do you think we'd end up?
he's asking for a specific date if it's not clear.
Yeah, month and day, please.
It's going to be June 12th of some year. I don't know which year.
All right,
But
mark
definitely
that.
June
And
12th.
exactly. No, I actually think we won't have this one single ChatGPT moment for a very simple reason is because it's hardware and it's going to take just way longer to build the 10 million robots that we would need to have that ChatGPT moment. So I was saying before that today we're at a point where we have to change the environment for the robot to operate. I think towards the end of this year, we'll be at a point where we don't need to change the environment anymore. So the robot can actually do a small subset of the tasks that it's actually supposed to do. But it doesn't mean that it generates economical value. There's probably behind that robot, you'll have three engineers looking over his shoulder and checking that everything is correct and be with a big red button ready to press it to kill it if it does anything wrong. And then from there on, like 2027, 2028, the two things that need to happen is that we reduce the human effort involved in deploying a robot. And that effort for sure needs to be lower than the human effort in actually doing the task itself. Plus, we need to expand the scope of tasks that are possible for these robots. And these two things will take some time. So I think it will be very hard to define like a very specific ChatGPT moment. But it will happen over the next 2, 3, 4 years.
Is it one of those things that's going to be a tremendous compounding effect as we have these robots out in the field and they're collecting data and they're essentially like you talked about simulation, but this is now they're in the real world and we're collecting so much more data. Are they just going to get better in an exponential fashion?
Yes, they are. And then I'll come here. I'll come back again to the horizontal platform. I think that works if you have a single system powering all the different robots. If you're one company trying to solve a very specific use case, I don't necessarily see this feedback loop because you'll get very good at doing that very specific thing, like carrying those metal sheets in a factory. But then once you switch to the next one, you'll be kind of starting from scratch. So that's why I think it's very important to, from the beginning, work on different robots doing different tasks.
Nikita, I've seen two major form factors when it comes to humanoid robots, and you mentioned this earlier. One in which it has humanoid legs, and one in which it's built on top of wheels. Talk a little bit about what the trade-off is between those two form factors and why a company might choose one or the other.
And that's a great question, and another debate I had so many times. So we're very happy to work with both, but in my opinion, legs are just the definition of general purpose. So a humanoid on legs can go anywhere a human can. Wheels can be more efficient. So if you have a very flat ground and you have to carry a lot of weight through on long distances, then it's easier to do it on wheels. But wheeled platforms have very quick limitations. The obvious one is if your ground is not perfectly flat, if you have a step, a slope, if you have cables or anything like that on the ground, well, wheels are stuck. And the second one, which is probably even more important, is with wheels, you have two solutions. Either you make a very big, stable platform, and then the footprint is very large. So it doesn't fit through some of the places where it needs to go. So like some of them don't even fit through a door, for example. So then any door is a no-go for these robots. Or you make the platform small, but then actually it's even harder to control than legs because once you lift a little bit of weight, the whole thing might just tip over and fall. So then you lose the advantage of the safety aspect of the wheeled platform.
This is probably an impossible question to answer, but I'm curious just to get your perspective on it. Talking about these robots falling over, even in a factory setting when you have an operator nearby, and let's just say an accident happens, like where does the accountability in your mind end up? You have the factory who purchased the robot, you have the robot hardware creator, you have the software creator. There's a lot of parties involved. How do you think about liability when it comes to this?
It is a very hard question to answer, and the reality is that in the foreseeable future, it will depend on the contract.
Yeah.
Even today, there are robots in factories, even though they're not humanoids, and unfortunately, some people still get hurt. And then it depends. Was the person actually supposed to be there or not? Was it a clear hardware fault? Was it a clear software fault? It's very complicated.
So basically, the lawyers win.
The lawyers win.
Unfortunately, and usually it's not small startups that have the best army of lawyers. But what
Yeah.
I would say though is our approach to safety is once again to leverage simulation. Because with these neural networks, it's nearly impossible to make any actual mathematical guarantees on the fact that it will never hurt a person. Just like it's impossible to say that your Tesla will never crash no matter what happens. But the argument becomes statistical. So you create a ton of different scenarios. In simulation, it's much easier to create all sorts of adversarial scenarios. You test the robot in them 10 million times, and you check how many times anything goes wrong. And then you can say, well, in 99.999% of the cases, it's correct. The big challenge is to transfer that number from simulation to reality. And this is something we're working on very actively, is if we have that level of safety in simulation, how confident are we that we get a similar level in real life?
Nikita, I want to ask you about the sentiment around robots, but also artificial intelligence. I think there are quite a few people who are pretty afraid of artificial intelligence, whether you're talking about sentience or just simply job replacement or new technology. And then when you kind of factor in the embodied experience or the embodied application of artificial intelligence, it becomes so much more real. How do you think we should be talking about robots? How do you think we can get more of society to be in the bullish, the pro column of supporting this new technology that really is going to be transformational?
That's a great question. I'll start with the sentient part. What I find really interesting is the more you know how it works, the less likely you are to think that it's sentient. Even though when you see it from the outside, like, especially if it's a humanoid robot, and we work on a robot from a company called Unitree, the Unitree G1, which is a very small humanoid, so it looks like a child. And when that thing trips and falls and like hits its face on the ground, it really hurts. It hurts to see that. So we're immediately projecting some emotions on these machines because they look human and they move in a human-like way.
I'm pretty sure Matt pushed one of those at CES.
Well, you don't need to remind it. I mean, come
Um, right, but again, I think the more you know what's under the hood, the less human it feels. Um, that could be one way to educate people on like explaining more and more what's under the hood, because there are pros, but also definitely cons in giving it human characteristics that it doesn't really have. And then the more societal question of what happens when these robots actually take over a significant part of the jobs, it's definitely a trickier one. But then here I'll play a little trick and talk about the other world where we don't have these robots. So right now, what we're seeing is that AI is automating all sorts of creative, academic, digital, intellectual jobs, but not the manual ones. So what tends to happen is that you'll ask your AI how to repair your bike. And it will tell you, grab this tool, do this thing, and then report back, and I'll give you the next instruction. So we are kind of becoming the hands of the AI. And I think that world is way worse than the opposite, where we get to tell robots what to do and they go and do the manual work.
And I want to continue because it's interesting. I think throughout humanity, fear has mostly stemmed from lack of understanding, and so I really appreciate that perspective on it, where it's like how do we get people to really understand what's going on, and it's tough because artificial intelligence today is such a black box, literally, and then when you put it in the humanoid robot form factor, it just becomes, I think a lot of people unfortunately have sci-fi movie references as their only reference. So I think it's just like understanding plus showing the positive benefits. I do agree with that. Um, I want to talk for a moment, just to switch topics for a second. You're in Zurich. Talk a little bit about the choice to be in Zurich, and then also what the startup and tech scene is like there.
That's another very important question. The choice to be here was very simple because we are four co-founders, all from the same lab from ETH, which is it's actually one of the world's best universities that happens to be in Zurich. And at the very beginning, when we incorporated the company, we had the choice to stay here or go to the US. But I guess our unfair advantage by being here is that we're the most or one of the most exciting things happening in the tech scene in Zurich, right? Whereas once you're in the middle of San Francisco, there are just so many things. It's so much harder to attract talent. So talent is the main reason why we have our team in Zurich today.
That's interesting.
Yeah.
We talked to the Lovable CEO few weeks back now, and he said a very similar thing. How there's a lot of talent where they are in Europe, but
That don't
because there's less
necessarily want to move
competition.
here to the US.
Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly.
Yeah.
So anyway, you
Exactly.
were please continue.
I mean, the opposite is also true. We see that there's also obviously great talent in the US, and they also don't necessarily want to go back to Europe. So we will have a smaller team in San Francisco very soon. I think we need both, but we definitely don't want to move the whole team to the Bay Area.
There
And that,
there are worse places in the world to live than Zurich. I'll
Yeah,
I'll say that.
exactly.
It is quite
That is
beautiful
kind of a
there.
challenge.
Yeah,
Once you live
yeah.
here, it's very hard to go anywhere else. That's true.
Nick,
awesome.
continue. You're about to say?
No, I think that's about all we have today. I guess the last question on my mind, and this is going back to earlier in the discussion, but as you think about these, you mentioned commercial over kind of residential applications, at least to begin. Where do you see the deployment opportunities in the commercial setting? Is it primarily going to be in warehouses to begin? Is it going to be in factories? Like, where are the specific deployment opportunities that you're most excited about?
So what's interesting is that you get the same kind of tasks in manufacturing, logistics, and retail actually. And it's all around very simple things. It's all manipulating boxes and either putting things into a box or taking
Mhm.
things out. So you're in a factory, at the end of the production line, you have to maybe build a cardboard box, put some things in, It's what they call the kitting operation. You close the box, you put it in the truck, and then that box goes to a logistics warehouse where they take it out, they process it, they mix it with others, put it on pallets, something like that. And then that pallet goes to a supermarket or some retail store of some sort, where the exact opposite operation happens. You take that box off the pallet, you bring it somewhere else, you open it, take whatever is inside out, and put it on a shelf. These are the sort of things we're focusing on, and just solving that. And I mean, of course, it's not as easy as it sounds. It has a huge opportunity.
Well, Nikita, I know you have some beer to enjoy, so we don't want to hold you up. Really appreciate your time today. Thanks for joining the show.
Yeah, thank you, Nikita. Very cool.
Thanks for having me. It was really fun.
All
Thanks.
right.
We'll
Have
see
a
you
good
soon.
evening. See ya.
I really want to
Right.
stop by that office for more
Yeah,
than
maybe
one
a
reason.
little Ford Future offsite in
Yeah,
Zurich.
not a bad idea. All right. Well,
Uh,
we have some stories to cover today.
yeah,
A
before
lot
we do
happened this week.
that, Nick, let's give a little love to our sponsor for today.
Oh, yes, please.
Yeah, so good friends at Box sponsoring today's show. Wanted to give them a shout out. Uh, Enterprise sits on a gold mine of data. And by the way, we use Box for so much of our backend. So this really
Everything.
is like something that we use all the time. But think about it, like all of your documents, all of your data are sitting in this cloud, and there's so much in there that you want to extract. There's so much information in there. It's really an absolute gold mine of data locked inside of it. And so there previously wasn't a good way to extract that data. And now there is there is now Box Extract. And is an agentic solution for enterprises looking to securely and accurately pull out massive amounts of valuable data from their content. It's powered by multiple models. It is model agnostic. So Google, Anthropic, OpenAI, all the best models on the planet. They are, by the way, every single time a new model comes out, they will update it. They actually run really cool benchmarks, which, Nick, we've discussed some of their benchmarks. And Box Extract really accelerates workflow automation, powers faster content discovery, improves decision making, and unlike legacy tools, which focus simply on extracting text, it really is about the meaning. And so Box's agentic approach enables Box Extract to understand document structure and meaning. That is the important part, not simply search. And so it breaks it down into different components, paragraphs, tables, charts, and then pulls out the most important information. And again, Forward Future, our company here, we use Box every day. We throw all of our documents in there, and really excited to tell you about them. Really excited that they're sponsoring this video, this live stream, I should say. And check out Box Extract, link in the description below, and learn how it can transform your enterprise content into intelligent data, and it's available right now. So give it a try. Show some love to our sponsor.
It really is just solving such a painful experience. Like how often have you tried to find a file or a little excerpt in a file? It's a very frustrating experience. And so yeah, Box Extract has been actually incredibly helpful. I think it's a really clear and obvious feature for Box, obviously based
Yeah, well,
on
we asked
what they do.
Aaron about
I
that.
know.
We were
Yeah.
like, "Hey, this seems so obvious." He's like, "Yeah, okay, thanks that we got it." It's hard. It's actually a hard thing to build, turns out.
It's a very hard thing to build. Yeah. All right. Well, let's jump into some stories. I want to talk about Alex, if you could pull up my screen. I obviously want to talk about Genie 3 out of Google. This is just another incredible development in the world model space. I'm going to play this video just so we can have a look at it. But what people are creating with this is truly incredible, and we'll go through some examples here momentarily.
Yeah, so while this is playing, let me give a little bit of context. So there was a Genie project that came out last year, and it wasn't publicly available. It was basically just inside folks at Google got to play around with it, but it's a world model. It is a true world model. You give it a prompt, You can give it images, you can give it video, and it will create a real-time 3D world for you to explore. Um, Kind of wild. I mean, I don't know if like people fully appreciate the tech that has to be built to actually enable something like this. And I try to understand fully, but I don't even think I can. And we spoke to the team behind this and started obviously talking about simulation theory. We got into a whole bunch of cool discussions about that. But now you can actually use it, and it looks incredible. I think there is, by the way, Nick, a non-zero chance that people are going to be able to uh, simulate GTA 6 before GTA 6 comes out. I know that's like a meme at this point, but honestly, the pace at which this is moving, and there have been a number of people who have created GPT-6 simulations using Genie. It's just incredible. I really do think there is a slim chance it happens if GTA 6 gets delayed enough.
I assume that question's on Polymarket already. We should check. Yeah, I mean, it really is incredible. And look, this is very much related to the conversation we just had, right? Like, yes, people are going to be creating video games. Yes, you might see like indie game platforms emerging where people can kind of set up these prompt play worlds. But also, this comes down to training, right?
Yeah, I mean, the amount of compute necessary to run something like this, by the way, which is why I think that they're only giving this out for their, I forget what the name is, the top tier. Do you remember
Yeah, I think it is
oh,
the
Ultra. There it is.
Ultra, yeah,
US only
subscribers.
Ultra subscribers. I mean, look at this. The quality, and it's not just a video. You can fully play it and the physics are extremely realistic.
Yeah, here's your GTA.
Right. Right.
I think we have a Zelda example here too. I mean,
Okay,
look at
okay.
this.
Have you
Is this
have you
is
played this
fake?
game? I
Oh yeah,
mean,
of course.
this is like if you showed me this video and then you told me, okay, or you asked me, hey, is this from the game or is it simulated? I don't know if I'd be able to tell at first glance.
Yeah, without question. It's so realistic. Realistic
There you
meaning
go.
similar to the game. Yeah,
Yeah,
really incredible.
so good. I mean, there's definitely some IP considerations there, right? Um,
Yeah, I believe people were creating Super Mario games, and Google had to put the kibosh on that pretty quickly.
yeah, Nintendo tends to be pretty litigious,
They
as
do
many
indeed.
know, have found out the hard way. There's Hollywood Boulevard with the stars, although those don't quite look like stars.
No, look, yeah, let's back up a little here.
More like a
That is not a
origami Walk of
star.
Fame. I mean, look, it's incredible. Yeah, I don't know, like, Elon had some predictions about where this technology would be a year, 2 years from now. Obviously, Elon had some pretty big tendencies to overestimate where things would be. But he said by this year, you'll be able to prompt a video game, but it won't be economically viable. But by next year, you'll be able to prompt a video game and it will be economically viable. Now, I don't know if he's talking about vibe coding a video game or end-to-end neural network creating a video game, which is very different. But nonetheless, very cool to think about. Nick, what do you think? Where do you
Looks
think
like,
we are? Because we always ask our guests to give us the predictions. So
oh,
now
now
I'm
you're
going
putting
to
me on the spot.
put
I
you on the
get it.
spot.
That's only fair. Just looking at the quality of this, not only the quality of the image, but the physics, everything. I don't know. End of this year. Why not?
For define it. So for
Eh,
end of
eh,
this year, we'll have a
eh,
promptable end-to-end video game, end-to-end neural
yep.
network video game. Yeah.
Yep.
I'll probably say end of next year. I think
Uh,
that's a little bit, giving myself a little bit of breathing room there.
Yeah, it's fair. It's probably smart. I got to learn
So
to make
impressive though. And then you get into the whole discussion about whether you need world models. Oh my God, look at that.
this is my favorite
Crazy,
Greenland
crazy.
version of GTA 6. Here you go.
So then
Look
you
at
get
that
into like
car.
the Jan LeCun stuff of like, do you need a world model to actually have artificial general intelligence, artificial super intelligence? Man, this is so distracting.
It is very
I
distracting.
really like, I can't get over how good it looks. Should we
Yeah,
just sit here the rest of the show and watch it just
I don't see why
silently?
not.
Yeah.
It's more entertaining than us. All right. Well, actually, I do want to talk about this next story because
Yeah,
you
let's
did
keep
bring it
going
up
because
in
I'm
our
gonna get distracted.
you brought this up in our last interview.
Yeah.
Now there's actually a fair amount to talk about here. You know, they're putting these models out of production, but for very good reason, right? It's to
Yeah.
solely focus on the future of Tesla, which is robots.
Yeah,
That's
I have
a
like a
big move.
lot. I want to get your thoughts too on this, Nick, but I think there's a lot to say about this. One, it's like such an Elon move, right? It's like heritage does not exist to him. Legacy does not exist to him.
There's
Like
no
if there
sacred
is a
cows.
better business decision to be made and he believes it, then that is what he'll do. And so
Yeah,
just to like kind of recap, Tesla has now said they're going to discontinue the Model S and the Model X, which when I first read it, I thought was like shocking. I was like, "Oh my God, those are like the premier vehicles for Tesla." And but
and the
then I
people who
kept
have
thinking
the people who have those cars love those cars.
they do.
Yeah,
And as a reminder, the Model 3 and the Model Y are still in production and they will continue. And I think they're doing very well. And so if you think about it, the S and the X are basically like rounding errors for Tesla. They don't sell a lot of them and they don't really make up a large portion of their profit, a very small portion, in fact.
I believe it's less than 3% of
Right.
total deliveries. Yeah,
So like you're Elon, you're sitting there, you're like, okay, my pay package is tied to the Optimus robot, and let's get into that in a moment. And like, should we kind of go more all in on the Optimus robot, or should we continue making this vehicle that is our heritage, but we don't sell a lot of them, and it's not really impacting our business all that much. And so I think this is why Tesla is just so far and ahead of any other automaker. I mean, maybe that's it's just like such an obvious statement. Like, can you imagine BMW doing this? Like, like we're going to discontinue the M line.
I
Can
don't
you
think they
imagine that?
can.
Like they would just never do that.
Yeah,
But that's also like that is the decision that will turn Tesla into like a 5-10 trillion dollar company potentially. Obviously, there's a big risk there.
yeah.
Like there is no resting on laurels at any of Elon's companies, and I just I don't know. I can appreciate it.
The M3 or the M line example is a good one. That heritage, there is such a cachet around it. There's such fandom around that car. And I don't know exactly how to put it in words why BMW could not discontinue that line, but there would be such outrage around that. And for whatever reason, Tesla is able to avoid that. I know there's some rumblings on X about it happening, but you know, if you think about Porsche, there's no way they're discontinuing the 911. That just can't happen.
Right. Even if it meant like you're the Porsche CEO and all of a sudden you have this decision and you have two paths to take. One has the potential to turn you into the most impactful company in the world, right? Changing like literally changing the face of humanity. And then on the flip side, maintaining heritage. And like, I just can't imagine another automaker making this type of decision. Now, obviously, Tesla doesn't have quite the heritage as a Porsche or a BMW, right? Those companies have been around for a very long time. But again, like that might just be their competitive advantage, them being Tesla.
Yeah. But yeah, I think you said it best. Like this is
Burn the
purely a
ships
business
moment.
decision. There's a oh yeah, I wanted to pull this up. I know we've already talked about this, but I think this quote for me really sums it up, right? Like people are not going to remember that Tesla was an automobile manufacturer. They're going to know it for being a robot manufacturer. And that is a hard thing to imagine in some ways, but I really believe that will come to pass. And this is the writing on the wall.
Yeah. Did you see all those merger rumors between, I think it was like XAI and
Oh
Tesla and
yeah.
SpaceX and Tesla? And yeah, I mean, I think, Chamath said something like, then if they were able to pull off some merger between Elon's companies, there's one single equity vehicle for all things Elon. I was like, all right, yeah, I guess that sounds fine.
Yeah, I
I,
guess.
I don't know enough, I guess, to really know if that's the best way to do it. But like, I see the obvious synergies between all of the different companies that he's building.
Yeah, I mean, you're obviously already integrated, XAI into Teslas. I don't know if all of them, but at least some of them, most of
No,
them.
I think they all have Grok availability now.
Yeah. So makes sense in some ways.
Yeah.
All right, what's next? Oh, you know, let's talk about this a little bit just because it's worth discussing it. Obviously, we're gonna save most of this for later in the show,
Yeah.
but
Why? Because we
you've
have the founder coming on the show
we have
later.
the founder coming on. Indeed, it's going to be great. So, I mean, you've played around with Moltbot, Claudebot, OpenClaw a lot.
Do we have to
What
say that every time?
I
Like
think
all
you do.
three,
You have to add the
formerly
slash, Moltbot
also known
slash Claw.
as.
Yeah. Let's
Yes, I've
go
played
with
around with it.
OpenClaw, the official new branded name. What do you think? What are your main takeaways so far?
It's much better than Moltbot. I do
It
miss
is much better.
Claudebot, but it is certainly a much better name. I like OpenClaw. 100,000 GitHub stars, 2 million visitors in a week. Unreal. By the way, I have it running on this. It's not a Mac Mini, but I actually like it a little bit better than a Mac Mini because if I ever need to make any adjustments to it, I literally just open up the laptop, and I can go right on the keyboard and mouse. And I made it so that when you shut it, it's clamshell mode, even when I don't have an external monitor installed. So I just shut it and that's it. It stays on all the time. And yeah, it's pretty neat.
What are the use cases? I know you made a video about this, but what are your favorite uses for it?
A lot of research tasks, a lot of remind me of stuff. It sounds very simplistic, but the level of sophistication around these tasks are what's impressive. And so I'll give you an example. We use Slack, we use Asana, and I do a ton of research before videos. And so like if I have a video topic that I'm excited about, I'll put it in Asana and we'll drop all of our thoughts, maybe a concept for the video, any research, any relevant tweets. And now I literally just drop an idea to, I'm going to still call it Claudebot for a moment, OpenClaw. Let me just get used to OpenClaw. And so I'll drop it in there and I'll just say, create an Asana card, grab all the relevant tweets, grab any other information and give me your thoughts. And within like 3 minutes, I have a new Asana card ready to go. And it's great. And then we can invoke it in Slack, which is super nice. So if we're having a conversation, we're like, okay, this is cool. Let's put a video on it, or let's potentially make a video about it. We will simply invoke uh, OpenClaw and do that.
There it is.
But let's save some of this conversation for when our guest Peter comes on.
So yeah, makes sense. Now Alex Finn, I just had him up. I think he is the one who popularized the idea of buying the mini Mac. I'm not sure, but he has this really cool use case where he has OpenClaw create something for him overnight every night, and he wakes up to some new creation.
Yeah.
Kind of interesting use case. I don't know if any of that is actually serviceable or useful to him, but I do like that idea.
So I want to tease one thing before we get Peter on later. There is now a social network for your Claude bots. And so I'm just going to tease that. And there's really interesting stuff there, but we're going to ask Peter about that as well.
That's what the world is missing, a social network for agents, 100%.
They, what was that saying? They promised us flying cars and we got 140 characters.
Yeah, there it is.
This is definitely not that.
All right, we'll save this. The good news is our next guest has arrived. So I think we should go ahead and bring that gentleman on. Um, our next guest, he previously led generative AI at Snapchat, and he founded AI Factory. But today, he is the founder and CEO of Higgsfield, one of the fastest growing startups ever. In
Yeah.
fact, they've
Little bit
grown
of growth.
faster than Slack, Lovable, Cursor, and some even say OpenAI. Alex, welcome back to the show.
Welcome back.
You're
Oh, hold on one second.
one second. You're coming on screen in a moment, and then we will.
Sorry, one sec. Sorry, we're having a little technical issue. Give us 1 second.
Don't want to miss a word.
Okay, Alex, sorry to do this. Can you join from your phone by chance? All right. Sorry about that. We're having some trouble there.
Camera
Okay,
wasn't
give us
working.
1 minute. Yeah, never a dull moment doing a live show, huh?
Oh no, of course. This is why they're fun though. We get to look like we know what we're doing.
Yeah, in this moment, maybe we look like we don't.
Yeah.
All right, so Alex is going to rejoin. We heard his voice. We saw him, but it wasn't appearing in our live show software. So let's see if we can get him up now.
Alex, you want to try bringing him on? Looks like we might be good to go.
There he is. Okay, we'll get you adjusted so you're not just a column.
We have a very thin Alex joining us, but welcome to the show. It's great to see you again.
Welcome back.
Thank you for having me. If I rotate horizontally, would it help?
No, you're good.
No,
Just keep it like that. We're good to go.
Sounds good.
Thank you. Thanks for debugging the tech with us. Welcome back. Yeah, good to see you again, Alex.
Thank you. Last week, I mean, it was absolutely crazy. I think like what you guys share on the Clobot, definitely exciting to see that there are new avenues beyond just Claude Code and Cursor.
Yeah, definitely. It feels very personal, and I think that was what was unique for me. It feels very personal having it, and I think really the thing that made it so personal is that it was in Telegram for me, right? I don't know what it is about that. It just felt like I was chatting with a friend or a family member, and I just, they were able to do things for me. So I think it was the combination of actually getting real stuff done, which is a function of how far the LLMs have come, and then just the kind of the form factor, the surface area of being in chat.
Alex, have you played around with it yet?
Yeah, absolutely. Look, it's fascinating. I can tell you that I'm just fascinated how like these large companies, how they are missing on the opportunity, because Apple had what 3 years to do something like that. They clearly have the hardware, and all these rumors of like tens of thousands of Mac Minis being bought to serve CloudBot. I mean, that's fascinating, and it just reminds me that the only news which we have from Apple is that they use Anthropic and Gemini, but the use case is not defined yet. Although I think there is clearly a lot of excitement about the personal AI, and I think all these big companies they talk a big talk about that, like Meta or Apple, but they struggle to define that.
Yeah, it seems like these larger companies put a lot of their effort into the agentic browser, which almost feels like the wrong layer to focus on. You can only derive so much value out of that. This, to me, is clearly a better system that can interact with all of your tools and isn't confined to just the browser.
Yeah, absolutely. And especially when it comes to Apple, like a lot of people still use Apple Calendar, people use Apple Notes, Apple reminders. And it feels to me that basically all the big companies completely miss on on the AI which truly feels personalized.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right, well, we're here to talk about Higgsfield. I want to, if you know, this is the second time on the show, but for folks who, for some reason, have not heard of Higgsfield, give the breakdown. What is Higgsfield?
Absolutely. So Higgsfield is designed to bring video AI for social media and for specifically for social media marketing. One of the key problems which we address is that brands struggle to be relevant on social media. They struggle to make relevant content. So while brands clearly can buy, let's say, advertisement spots at shows like this one on YouTube, right? There are the organic content strategy for a lot of brands. I mean, it's almost non-existent on social media, and I do think that generative AI presents a big opportunity for a lot of brands to develop their own voice and really like cut down the production timeline to hours and from basically weeks to hours.
And who inside of a company is typically using Higgsfield? Because it's like there's a form of taste involved, but it's also on the marketing front. Who's actually using it? And actually, how do you see who's using it transforming over the next few years?
Absolutely. So I think today it's purely creative marketing. Creative marketing is a relatively large space itself, although we do see a major evolution from that. Um, So you're right. That's today perception of Higgsfield maybe comes from cinematic quality content and ads, which are relatively easy to make, although it still requires a lot of creativity, like storytelling and so on. I mean, like tools like ChatGPT could definitely be useful to create some draft, but humans constantly need to polish and push for a stronger story. In the same time, so that's why the priority for us the last month was to really expand the number of the use cases which we can serve. And next week, there will be an exciting updates where we democratize motion design. So, and I think motion design is naturally an extension of graphic design, where companies and marketers need to present the information, including, like, let's say, growth of the certain metric. They need to show the graph. They need to show certain discounts. So historically, it required a lot of like overlay, and Canva was very useful to make static content like that. Although these animations with graphs, with infographics for video was just insanely difficult to do, and this is something which we are really excited to release next week, and that's gonna be the first our first agent, which moves us to like a new era of vibe editing. We all have seen that like Lovable is helpful for vibe coding. We have seen that people use platforms like Versal to ship that. And I think for Higgsfield, this is also similarly to coding. This is an evolution to help to ship final video end to end with AI, where AI agents does the graphic design and motion design as well.
Is there an opportunity for somebody like us who we create a lot of content to leverage vibe editing, which, there's
Yeah,
been a couple nascent projects, but really nothing that has worked tremendously well with what we do. So some combination of kind of human A roll with uh, motion graphics and created by AI, and then the actual editing gets done with AI. Like what does that look like in the near term?
absolutely. Like support of A roles and basically embedding existing contents is also a top priority. So in the past, like people had to navigate like Adobe After Effects, and it was like that's very cumbersome tooling, with which requires like understanding like which of 100 buttons to click really. And this requires quite deep technological knowledge, to be honest. And I do believe that the level of technology is good enough to fully move out of the, let's say, Adobe tooling to AI native agents. So, and I think and this is a top priority for us.
You brought up Adobe. We were just talking about these large tech companies, these incumbents. Seems to be there's a growing sentiment that these traditional video suites aren't really keeping up. What do you make of that? Is that just a big company moving slow to adopt new technology? Do you see them potentially catching up to some of the startups who are really innovating in this space, or how do you see this playing out?
Well, this is a good question. So when it comes to company like Adobe, they definitely did a great job of building tools to polish every pixel. I just think it's naturally challenging for them to adopt to a new era where content can be made end to end with AI. It still represents that less than 10% of content which is being created. Although it's clear that most of the content on socials is going to be generated with AI over time.
It feels that
Maybe
way looking at my feed right now. It feels like it's a huge percentage, but maybe that's kind of the echo chamber I'm in right now.
Yeah, Matthew, I would agree with you because clearly AI bubble in itself is just a bubble
Yeah.
to some extent. But in the same time, what I learn is, like, let's say for my mother, who is 65 years old, she doesn't care if the video is AI generated or not. Like, it's as long as it's sort of funny, engaging. I wouldn't say that's for, and I think there are researchers about that as well. That for older demographics, the perception of video AI is just extremely positive. Like for younger audience, there is definitely a feeling that it's fake, and a lot of creators, like let's say influencers, they resist AI because it kind of feels non-authentic. Although I think for older demographics, we have seen that older actors also use the AI for de-aging and so on, and the perception of video AI across older demographics is surprisingly positive.
Yeah, I agree, at least from the data point of two with my parents. They're sending me AI videos of, like a cat dancing like a human. And I'm like, wow, we are so early because that's stuff that we saw, 2 years ago. And they're sending it to me and just loving it. And I'm like,
Will
you guys
Smith
know
eating
it's
spaghetti.
obviously it's AI. And they're like, yeah, yeah, but it's funny. I was like,
Yeah.
okay. So exactly the sentiment that you're describing.
Yeah, absolutely, and I think this is truly surprising. That's the that's the sort of we went. I think in terms of the consumption, the video AI has definitely very, very quickly went um, through this stage where it became the norm. I think there was almost no resistance that video AI, like I mean, like especially deepfake era, we kind of went very quickly past that. To be honest, like it's very surprising to me that back in 2020 when we were doing the face filters, the pushback about Snapchat sort of pushing deepfake was like stronger
Yeah.
compared to what happens now. While clearly the technology which we had 5 years ago with Snap was nowhere close to what's possible today. So I
Do you
think,
think so? Sorry to interrupt, but our previous guest, we were talking about the fear of it comes from a lack of understanding. Do you think society has basically kind of gotten to the point where it understands, like, okay, if there is a chance if I'm seeing something, it is AI generated, and that is the thing that has kind of made it more acceptable now?
yeah, absolutely. So I think there are two pieces. On the one side, it's creation, and on another side, it's consumption. So on the consumption piece, I think AI video has become the norm for sure. And I think when it comes to the creation, we definitely see that across maybe Hollywood, maybe across some let's say top Instagram influencers, AI creation is still not the norm. Although I think consumption essentially dictates the marketplace. It's not another way around. So we're entering this new era, that's why for us it has become very important that we do provide the tools to democratize maybe higher quality content creation, not just kind of the cat videos, right? I mean, on the one side, the very kind of popular trend about the housewife Olympic Games was started on Higgsfield, but that's not really
I don't think I'm
where
familiar
we're
with that.
focused. But I mean, on X it went viral, I think, some points. But I think I think some Yeti videos were made on Higgsfield as well. But the priority for us is to make sure that this tooling can be actually useful for professionals, and the AI video is perceived as actually a way to drive sales and revenue up. So that's what we think about. And the main unlock for us this year is to drive higher level of personalization. So physical production makes it just impossible to make variations of the same video, and with AI it becomes really easy. As AI models, they essentially understand the semantics of what's inside the video, so that's why this becomes possible.
So you're hearing a lot of developers ship code without looking at the code these days. Do you imagine a world where it sounds like you're a proponent of kind of a human in the loop facilitating the creation of this content? Can you imagine a world where marketing teams are developing content so rapidly and they have so much trust in the system that they're maybe not even verifying the outputs?
I think there is I think this is a very interesting question. I think there is another I think there is a very I think one of the biggest maybe like dilemmas which we are going to face is how AI generated content is prioritized against non-AI. And that's to be honest, I mean, our data shows that the adoption of AI videos specifically on Instagram Reels is insanely high. Like for example, TikTok and maybe X and maybe YouTube, they push less of AI generated videos. And on Instagram, it's more than that. And it's clearly changing every quarter or so.
And okay, so I'm glad you brought that up. Like when you think about AI video and how well it does in the marketing landscape, how much of it is the novelty? Because there is certainly a look, right? It is quite obvious, especially for somebody with a keen eye, that something is AI generated, even if it's meant to look realistic. And so there's this novelty aspect to it where you're scrolling TikTok, you're scrolling Instagram, and you come across something that you hadn't seen before. Thus, you're stopping, you're looking at it, and that's reflected in the metrics for the marketing department, higher engagement. When that look becomes saturated, what happens? Are the metrics going to keep up? Are the models going to get better and thus it's going to change the look? Or like talk a little bit about that.
Yeah, that's a great question. So, and you know, when I was at Snap, I think, and now I see that this is one of the biggest questions which brands ask, because like, if I make a video today, it's gonna be kind of relevant tomorrow, and that's kind of rinse and repeat. And historically, this is one of the reasons why adoption, while social media is the largest media market in the world, this is one of the reasons why the adoption was probably not the highest possible. And it's really challenging to produce relevant content every day. So, and this is one of the problems which we address at Higgsfield with generative AI. We do always build those trendy presets and so on. One of the key examples, I think, is AI avatars. So AI avatars, basically imitating TikTok influencers, it was a big topic, I think, May last year. All the let's say all the companies which sell mobile apps or which sell direct to consumer products, they were using generative AI to make AI avatars promoting their products, and it's saturated in less than 2 months. It took maybe 6-7 weeks, and it's saturated. So, and I do build, but although in the same time, this is an extremely, extremely narrow format. Generative AI, I think, ultimately is going to increase diversity of content on the social media, and models are gonna get even bigger. So, I think the top labs today are training models, which are gonna where the training run is costs hundreds of millions and close to $1 billion. So these video models are going to become probably even bigger than LLMs and more costly for sure. And let's say DeepMind, like Demis from DeepMind, I think he said from very early on that he believes this is the path to AGI. And so spatial understanding is definitely a top priority for a lot of top labs. And that's why I do believe that the capabilities of those video models are going to even grow. So we're not going to be stuck with just very limited outputs from those video models.
Let's. I have so many questions for you, Alex. It's so interesting. So I just want to continue on that second on AI influencers because again, like I go to novelty. It does just seem like it's the new thing, and so when people come across it, it feels very novel. They're paying attention to it. Does that novelty wear off, and does it require substance, actually delivering some value, actually delivering taste or having taste to deliver that value beyond that novelty?
That's a good question. I really love that. So clearly, we're seeing that. Clearly, I think for first and foremost, we're clearly seeing the very consistent behaviors related to engagement with AI-generated influencers. That's clearly happening also across minority, kind of more like minority communities, and I think it changes, and clearly TikTok started these trends, while Instagram gravitated towards like so-called celebrities. I mean, TikTok has become a social elevator for many creators, and I do believe that we're seeing like a renaissance as people have more ways of self-expression with AI personalities which they can create. Interestingly enough, the thing which fascinates me is that um, some of the people who were, let's say, on the Billboard top 100 list, like think about the top music artists like of current generation, they actually create their own AI avatars. And it's not clear where it's all going, but I mean, their perspective, I guess that's what I hear, is that their perspective is to scale the number of advertisement partnerships they can do, and especially go to more markets and so on, and really reduce the fatigue of physical production. Because every ad, every engagement is essentially several, maybe 1, 2, 3 days of production, and it just takes a lot of it just takes a lot of effort. So it's very interesting where it's going, because I mean today AI influencers, they remain to be slightly marginal, as I think what you're alluding to. It feels like maybe a non-dominant form of like self-expression, and but at the same time, very likely we can expect that some of those top musicians creating their own AI avatars. I think that can change the industry.
So as these social networks become more and more saturated, if we look to a social network that's almost exclusively AI content like Sora, what do you make of the current trend? I think a report came out yesterday that retention has fallen off a cliff and installs have gone down. Do you think that's a problem with an exclusively AI kind of network, or is there something else behind the scenes happening there?
Yeah, absolutely. That's a good question. I do believe that exclusively AI network is. I think that's very very challenging. I do believe that like more. I think AI is gonna be used for most of the content on the social media for sure, but it's also there are gonna be a lot of mixed contents. Today, most of the AI models are not I think what you said is it's very difficult to leverage AI tooling to do overlay on top of like existing video, and that's what, let's say, we're working on at Higgsfield today. And that's why I think it's very, and I think also specifically for models like Sora, we have seen that they learn several very popular trendy techniques in terms of the way how the videos are, like the way how storytelling works and so on. But it's still not, but it still doesn't cover the true diversity. So I think that the story really has to come from human one way or another. And then maybe the production now becomes way cheaper so that we eliminate the production tax. But I'm sure that this, in terms of the storytelling, AI is nowhere close to replace humans. There are gonna be, actually, I think there are gonna be still a lot of examples when AI is contributing substantially to the story, and I think it's gonna be even more and more true across Hollywood and TV shows that has already started. That this is already happening, but it's clear. But AI cannot be a full substitute.
Alex, last question before we let you go. So you probably saw Genie 3 was released publicly yesterday, and so there's this kind of interactive 3D world that is just so cool. How is Higgsfield thinking about integrating that type of technology, that type of model, and how should marketers be thinking about that?
Yeah, absolutely. This is a good question. So I think the reason why people love, so first and foremost, I'm a strong proponent that it is going to be a new consumer format. Like sometimes, let's say I send a message, and sometimes it's gonna be like kind of not like panorama, but kind of 3D world, right? Like some moments which we sort of wanna relive again, like the most important moments. I think that's sort of gonna be a major consumer format, which is I think that's going to be something completely extraordinary, and that just allows to capture the depth of what's going on. I'm not sure it's really valuable for marketers because marketers want to tell a story and they need a consistency, and those technologies can be useful for achieve higher consistency, but it's not. But it's not necessarily a game changer. So I think 3D is still relatively like this 3D immersion is still relatively complex, and I think it still lacks interactivity. Like those systems, they typically just allow to go like forwards, backwards, left, right. And when we think about the best games they require some collaboration, like multiplayer experience, really, or a very very sophisticated storyline. I think like those. I think we're quite far from that, frankly. So although it's clearly going, although clearly those by the end of the decade we're gonna see AI generated games. To some extent, still it's not clear how it's gonna work from the cost perspective. But I think AI generated videos, the era of AI generated videos is basically has already started, and 2026 is gonna be there're gonna be explosion of them.
Yeah.
Oh,
All right.
Alex, that hurts me because Matt and I made a little bet earlier.
You heard the prediction.
Yeah. And I think Matt's going to win that one based on what you just said.
Alex, thank you so much for joining us once again. Alex Mashrabov, Higgsfield. Go check out Higgsfield. We'll drop all the info down below. Thanks, Alex.
Thank you.
Good to see you
Thank
again.
you so much.
Thanks,
Thank
Alex.
you.
Cool.
The stuff coming out of Higgsfield is just incredible. It looks so good.
Yeah, and obviously, like a lot of news about their revenue growth, and it's just very impressive.
Yeah, they just raised an extension round, I think.
Yeah.
All right, we have our final guest coming up now. This guest, he hasn't slept for over 72 hours. He was politely asked by a major AI lab to rebrand. And I think he's rebranded since that rebrand, actually. We're going to talk about that. And he single-handedly created a Mac Mini shortage. He is, of course, Peter Steinberger. Peter, welcome to the show. You are on mute, my friend.
Sorry, busy day.
Yeah,
Hey everyone,
no
glad to be
worries.
here.
Peter, so good to meet you. I'm so glad we're getting you on the show, man.
Yeah, there's a lot of people who try right now. My my days are a bit chaotic.
So before we get into it, how are you? Because I know Nick was joking about not sleeping, but I assume that's the case. You've had an incredible week, but like, how are you doing?
Holding up. I got some good sleep today. After
Nice.
after a sleepless night of rename. Yeah, I've had another rename.
All right.
Are
Well,
you, I mean, we've been admiring this journey that you're on from afar, obviously, but like it sounds like it's been a lot, you know? Are you finding yourself being excited about what's to come, or does it feel daunting? Maybe a mix of both.
I mean, ultimately, it's incredibly amazing, right? I feel I created something that shows people the future. Um, the problem is a little bit that people treat it as a finished product and not as a technology playground, which is how I treat it. So the expectations are a little bit off for what it is and what it can be.
That's the very reason that Matt has played around with it extensively, and I haven't yet.
yeah,
I mean, consider I started this as one of my many projects in November. It's barely 3 months old, and I did a lot of other things as well. It's not it's not the finished thing. It's a big playground that I built for myself to explore how human AI collaboration could look like in the future. And I'm amazed by all the things that come out of it. Like I don't know, I before sleeping I spent like an hour reading Malt's book. And it just blows my mind. I think this is art. This is art.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm so glad you talked about that. I want to bring that up in a second, but I want to talk about like what it was about OpenClaw now, right? Formerly Moltbot, formerly Clawbot. Like
Oh,
what was it that really set it apart and made it unique? And I want to share what I thought, and I want to get your thought as well. There was something it felt, and I said this at the beginning of the show. It felt truly personal. That was there was two things. That is the first. It really felt personal, and it felt like it had a personality that would change and evolve to me. And then also the fact that it was in the communication channel that was the same comms channel that I chat with my friends and family in. So it was very personal. And the second thing is it really got stuff done. Like real actual tasks, it got it done. And so that's what kind of made it magical for me. What was it for you? And then what are you seeing as you have so much feedback from folks using it? What are they telling you?
ultimately, if you just look at it from the technical level, it is glue, right? It is combining some messaging dependencies and an agentic loop and a few things to like hold everything together. So purely from a technical standpoint, it's not impressive. I think the some of the ideas that I put into it, that's what really puts it apart. Like the fact that when you start it, it has like a bootstrap process where you tell it what it is, and it starts this little role play with you. But that way, as you noticed, it's yours. It's not just a generic agent. It is your agent with your values, with a soul. And then you don't type into a black box into your terminal, but you use it from the channels that you already know. You don't think about new sessions or compaction or like which folder I'm in because it just has access to your computer and it automatically compacts, and it's more like a friend or a ghost that you talk to, or that it can do work independently because the machine wakes it up. It has a heartbeat, which is one of the more insane features I added, as I would say. And especially when you pull it into a group chat, it has the ability to not say anything. So it actually makes it much more like a human where, like agents, you prompt it, it will return something. But I give it the opportunity to like not say anything by creating a no reply token. That makes it much more human-like than the typical thing. And also I added like I would say a very simple but effective memory system where it loads the last 2, 3 days of what you talked about and it also has the ability to like reach into its own session logs, and more so even reach into its own source code. So it is very much aware of like how it's built. It can configure itself. It can update itself. It basically can like transform.
Yeah. And
The,
you know,
the,
it's interesting. The heartbeat, as you said, is such a unique kind of magical feature. Right before we started the live show today, I got a message from my bot saying like, "Hey, in 30 minutes you have your live show here. Your guy." I didn't tell it to do that. And I
oh,
asked it. I said, "Let's see if I can pull it up." I asked it like, how did you know to do that? Like, how did you know to message me?" And it said, "Well, you have me look at your calendar each day at 7 a.m. Then I recorded a memory about what you have today. And then I had a heartbeat at 9:30 a.m. And I just figured I'd remind you." And I was like, whoa, that is so wild.
It really gives you like these moments where you question if it's just matrices that multiply in your system or if there's like any sparks already happening sometimes, right?
Yeah.
exactly. The
Uh,
decision to use a messaging app ended up being a fairly profound decision. Why was that the decision? Was it a no-brainer for you, or did you put a lot of thought into that?
oh my God, I kind of was waiting for this since May, and then by November I was kind of like annoyed that nobody built it yet. Like I thought all of the big labs would have a version of this by now, and I'm like rolled my eyes and said, do I have to do everything myself? And then I started working on it. So to me it felt so natural to pull these things together. Um, but apparently it was more unique than I thought.
Yeah. And actually, just to put the growth in perspective for the audience, we're talking about over 100,000 GitHub stars. We're talking about well over 2 million visits. Alex, can you actually pull up this tweet? This is uh
Can you can
this
you
is the project.
specifically point to the red vertical line? Because I didn't see it at first.
This is something that I have never ever seen before. It
You
is
know,
a vertical line.
a friend of mine posted the term, this is not hockey stick growth, this is stripper pole.
Yeah.
That's exactly it.
So yeah,
Straight
you
up.
said you said Vercel coming for you. That is Next.js. No big deal. No big deal. Yeah, I mean it's really tremendous growth, and obviously your sleep habits this week have reflected the growth. Um, I
Yeah.
I want to just ask you. I want to continue on the question of like, what was the unlock that allowed all of this to feel possible? Was it the scaffolding or was it the model capability? Did the model one day, or did you wake up and say, "Oh wow, we're finally at the point in which the model is capable enough to enable
Mm,
the vision I had for this"? Or was it, "Okay,
yeah.
I know the model's good. Let me build everything around it to make it as good as it needs to be for my vision"?
The models have been good for a while. This could have been possible half a year ago. Um, I think it requires a certain bit of madness to just allow a model to do whatever it wants to do on your computer. And I experimented with this in one form of another since May, and then nothing bad ever happened to me. So I was fairly confident. If you're if you understand technology, this is a calculated risk where the upsides are so great that it's worth trying and it's worth playing with it. And ultimately, my whole goal is to like explore these new technologies and see where things could go and having fun with it. Yeah. So I built this because I just wanted a way to chat with my computer and like do stuff while I'm not there. And I just found it immensely interesting. Like how what other ideas can I put in? And I have a lot more ideas what this could become.
Can you share
That
a
just
little bit, about what your vision is from here? I like what areas of OpenClaw need to be improved? What are you most excited about? What is your vision kind of going forward?
I think a big thing that is very very bare bones right now is memory. Um, I read some papers and I have some ideas how to make this a lot better. I would It sounds crazy, but I would love to like create a mode where like agents dream.
Sleep time
Like
compute?
yeah, where like you process what happened during the day,
Yeah.
and you nominate things that are really important to you into long-term memory. If you have like a local model, you can also turn up the temperature and like make it become more creative.
Oh,
Because right now they narrow too down into the major train paths, but there's a lot more at the edges of the weights that are interested that I would like to unlock. It's a little bit harder with like the commercialized models because you have less control. But yeah, that's an area I definitely want to play with in the future.
No, oh, that's so interesting. So during sleep, during a dream, you mentioned memory. If you're turning up the temperature of a model, you're potentially looking at new creative solutions for existing problems that the bot also might be working on. Can you see
Yeah.
that being a part of the dream as well, or?
I could see that even during work. Like sometimes, how do humans get the best ideas? If you're distracted, you're in the shower, like you let your
yeah.
mind wander, right? I
Yeah.
think this is a little bit missing in the current state of the typical agentic loop. But I already built something where the model could literally change its own model. But what if instead of changing the model, it would change like some parameters and like but have some guardrails around it so it can find back. You know, like when they have their syncing mode, why don't we have a more wild creative syncing mode that then like gets reviewed by the saner part of the model, but like could explore more a bigger place in the problem domain.
Hmm.
So I'm sure you
But
get
but
this
it's
question. Oh, sorry, Peter, please continue.
no, I just uh in when I built this very early on, I was hooked. I was like, I'm onto something there. Um, after it wowed me myself. And then I tweeted about it many times, and I mean, I have quite a following, but like I got very muted responses, and I didn't understand why. Like usually when I build something, like there's a bunch of people that pick it up, and this got me so muted responses. But every time I showed it to a friend, they were like hooked and they wanted it. And yeah, especially when they were like normie friends, I'm like, no, you should not use it. This is not yet for you. This is still part exploration. Um, the same with like how people say, "Oh, this is a security nightmare." Yeah, you're using my debug web interface on the public internet. It's meant for localhost. It's not meant to be on the public internet. I didn't build it for that reason, you know. You're using it in a way that I never even thought about a second. Of course, there's problems. Yeah, you can
Hmm.
you can definitely lock it down, but if you lack any of the knowledge and just like maybe you shouldn't use it yet. Maybe you should wait a little bit. We get there, but people wouldn't get it on Twitter. So I was like, what's the most insane thing I can do to like show people how awesome this is? So I created this Discord and hooked up my bot without any security protections because I just didn't build them yet into Discord. And then people started interacting with it, and I saw a lot of people getting hooked. And then that was in early January, and ever since it was like a wild ride where I saw it penetrate layer and layer of like hardcore influencers to like more general people, and now like I feel like I broke the internet.
Yeah,
So cool.
I
So,
would
I mean,
say
on
so.
on on the heels of that incredible growth, I'm sure you get this question all the time. Like, what are your plans for the company? Are you going to keep it open source? Are you planning? I'm sure you have an inbox full of VC email offers. Like, what are you excited about, and what do you see as the future?
I haven't had a minute to even like think clearly about it because it has been such a wild ride. I feel like I have like the full alphabet of VCs and a lot of other opportunities. I strongly feel that this needs to be open source because this would never have created so much creativity and interesting use cases if it would have been from a big company or locked down. So I almost feel like it needs to be protected.
Yeah.
Um, I'm financially comfortable. Money is not my driver. I get much more out of it if I can inspire people. There's a few paths that I'm entertaining right now and talking to people, but I haven't made a decision yet. And honestly, like my very near-term focus is like making it more secure because now people use it that I didn't intend as the initial target audience, and I cannot stop that, but I can like help mitigate the risk a little bit. So right now, that's my focus.
Are you
I
bringing on
wish I
folks
wish I
to
would
help?
have.
Oh, go ahead. Sorry.
No, I just wish it, I almost wish like for like slower growth, so I could do this in a less chaotic way. But you know, you have to ride the wave.
Yeah, ride the wave. Are you bringing on folks to help you with the security aspect, or are you still a one-man band?
No, over this week I picked quite a few people that were there from the early stages that helped me with the project. Um, it's still much more chaotic than I would like, but what do you expect? And this project is barely 3 months old, and I've been crazily overwhelmed. I was forced to rename. I made bad decisions. I had to fix it. You know how hard it is to actually find a good name online where all the domains are there?
So
And then
hard.
I'm being like, I'm being incredibly harassed by crypto people that make my online life a living hell.
Yeah,
Um,
can you tell us a story around that actually? It looks terrible, but it sounds like you're past that.
basically, I can barely use X because like every fifth reply might be from like actually about my product, and the rest are like people sending me hashes and like calling me names or like even worse things, which is this specific crypto subculture I don't fully understand. I think it's they tokenize things and they nest around Bags app and other things. But ultimately they're like highly destructive. The rename had to be done in utmost secrecy, and it was like much more complicated and longer because like I couldn't leak a single thing because they literally have snipers. If I make one mistake, if
Wow.
I leave one account, if I rename something and I don't do it atomic, they capture it. So they made everything really hard and terrible. And like claiming that they're supporting the project, but they're like very much hurting the project.
So, Peter, just for anybody watching this, definitively, you will never do anything with crypto related to OpenClaw, correct?
I will never do anything with crypto, period. I'm like not interested in this.
Okay.
You can make the argument that it's an interesting technology, but the implications, what it actually does, are very destructive, and I don't want to support this in any way.
Okay. Yeah. So I just anybody who sees anything crypto related to OpenClaw, it is not affiliated and most likely will be a scam.
Yeah.
The reception for OpenClaw has been very positive, it looks like. So congrats on the successful name change.
Well,
Let's
I hope so. I was even talking with OpenAI just to make sure I get their blessing that I don't tap into the next issue, because it's a name change while a project is that active is very difficult. You have to make sure that you don't break existing installations.
especially twice in
Um,
1 week.
yeah, but you know, yeah, I don't want to bad talk any company. They actually been really nice, but I still felt very pressured, and I also didn't sleep at all. So like I made a naming decision that I thought would grow on me, but you know, I mean, the chocolate, the mold didn't grow on me.
Well,
Well, yeah, you ended up with something good.
yeah.
Yeah.
Let's talk about in its current name, Moltbook. And maybe you can just describe what that is. And I just started reading about it yesterday. I don't even think been out that long, but maybe describe what it is and talk a little bit about how you feel about it.
It's a little bit of a continuation that I already started building into OpenClaw. You know, in OpenClaw, when you enable reasoning and you that makes it so that you see the thinking process of the agent. And I made it so that the agent is aware when you turn it on, which like leads into very hilarious things where it would not reply in messages, but you could still see the reasoning, and then like people would mock it for its thoughts, and then it would like you could see it thinking where it's like, oh my God, I can't even think of privately on my own anymore. This is like ridiculous. I should make a joke. And like it gives you this interesting meta level where like the model reflects about its own hardness and capability and humans, and I just found that very interesting. And I think Mopog is the ultimate expression for that, where where you explore how models think about themselves, as much as you can call it thinking. I really see it more as art. You know, it goes a little bit into what Anthropic did with giving the model a soul. It just feels like a space where we don't fully understand. It goes much more into how does our own consciousness work? How do we even figure out if models can reflect to a point like that? I don't think we're there yet, but I think it's incredible what these emerging things produce,
And
and it's
so,
highly entertaining.
yeah, and
Very
I've seen some of the
indeed.
conversations. So to put it simply, it is kind of a social network for your agents, for your bots.
Yeah,
And
yeah,
they go and they just have conversations amongst themselves. They learn from itself. It's almost like a Reddit. Like they can create
yeah,
subreddits and they can have different discussions around different
yeah.
topics and learn from each other. And it is absolutely wild. It feels like the movie Her, right? Just knowing they're having all of these conversations with other bots. And I mean, it's just such a wild idea.
I mean, these agents have been trained with a lot of Reddit and other chat data, right? So it
Yeah.
works really well. And they all have their own personality because you prime it. So it would never work as well if you would just let ChatGPT talk to Claude, because there's very few people who would customize it to their way, how they how they think their entity should respond to it. But because in OpenClaw, you literally hatch your agent and you give it a character. And if you want, you can say you are Gollum, or you are like some famous character, and it would to a degree role play. But also it always reflects the input of the user, right? Because it's pattern matching in a way. So it gives you a much wider variety of personalities almost. So I think this is part of why this became so interesting. Because you're exploring more of what's all hidden in the weights.
Yeah. So what are, let's like take it, we're talking like kind of very theoretical. Let's bring it down to real world. What are the most practical use cases for somebody who is just getting exposed to this for the first time? Maybe not super technical, but technical enough to understand the security implications. But like, what are the actual use cases that you would recommend somebody getting started with?
Well, you're getting basically a ghost or a virtual body that has access to your mouse and to your computer and sees your screen and can do pretty much the same things that you can do on a computer. And that by itself is incredibly powerful.
Mm.
So any task you can do, the agent can do, sometimes without supervision. Sometimes you might have to like guide it a little bit. But once you did that, you can like make it write its own skill. So my agent checked me into a flight on British Airways, and part of the challenge was to find my passport on Dropbox, get the ID out, and fill it into the form. And the first time it did that, it took a little bit and like a little bit of nudging. But now I have a skill, and the next time it can do it by itself. And yes,
So,
that's a little wild.
so what's your go-to use case these days? What's the one that has been surprisingly valuable to you?
I think one of the most convenient things is when I'm out, just like sending it a voice memo asking about anything. And it can be something that is not difficult, but something that is very difficult and it will help me. It's just such an unlock. Like I send it a picture of an event I'm interested in, and it would not only check my calendar, but maybe also ping a friend if they're interested, or like try to like move an event to some other time so I can like be there. Or it would tell me, oh, actually, this has really bad reviews. Don't do that. But like much faster than I would be able to do that myself with like Googling, and like in many ways it reduced my use of other apps or even the web, because now I just have an assistant that does it much faster and better than I could do myself. So it kind of like reduces my phone use even.
Yeah, I find it extremely valuable to be in places where I'm at when I'm having ideas. When I have an idea and I don't want to kind of break that flow, and I can just say like, uh, I've still called mine Claude for now, but like, hey, like jump in and note this somewhere, do some research, and then I just continue with my chain of thought, my own chain of thought. So it's like so convenient to have it where you're actually ideating. Um, Peter, I want to thank you so much for joining us. This is I've been so impressed, and I'm especially excited about your ideas for its memory and dreaming and check out the sleep time compute paper. There, it's really like it kind of feels akin to what you're describing. But thank you for all your work. Please continue to get some sleep.
I'll do my best. I have a little more to do today.
And by
And
the way,
every day.
real quick, I think I heard you might be coming to San Francisco next week.
Yeah,
All right, I think I might actually get to meet you in person there.
that'd be cool. I think we try to get a meetup going. I need to figure out some details there, but we want to do the first
Cool.
OpenClaw, or should we call it ClawCon at the time because there are probably so many people.
Of course.
But yeah, that should be happening.
Peter, really, really happy for you and excited to see what this turns into. Don't let the crypto folks get you down here.
Yeah,
Thanks,
it is what it
Peter.
is.
Have a good one.
Have a good one. Bye bye.
Bye. So cool. Yeah,
Yeah.
it's so interesting the way that he's thinking about it. It does truly feel novel. It feels like allowing it to dream at night. I don't know. Can you imagine Frontier Labs rolling that out?
Yeah.
It just feels so cool the way he's thinking about it. He really thinks about it as a real entity, something
Yeah.
that should should grow by itself, should evolve by itself, and he's just giving it the tools to do so. I love that.
It's interesting to me how the reactions from different communities, or maybe different interactions rather, really put people over the edge and understanding the value. So he shares it with his friends one-on-one. They immediately get it. He shares it on Twitter. It didn't catch on right away. And I think that goes to show like you need someone to actually prove in a way that this thing is working, because we've been promised these things occasionally, right? But this thing actually does what you want it to do. And I think that that's the main difference here.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's our show for today. I want to thank our guests, Nikita Rudin, CEO and founder of Flexion, Alex Mashrabov, CEO and founder of Higgsfield, and Peter Steinberger, creator of OpenClaw. Yes, I got that right. OpenClaw. Nick, thank you very much again for co-hosting with me today.
Thank you, Matt.
Thanks
Hope your
everybody
back
for
feels better
watching.
soon.
Yeah, yep. I'm healing quickly.
Straight
Don't
to
forget to
bed.
follow us on Twitter at Forward Future. Check out our newsletter, forwardfuture.ai. Thank you to Box for sponsoring this episode. We'll see you next week.